My name is Everett Carlyle. I play the piano. Not for the love of it, not anymore. I play for money, for the clinking glasses and hushed whispers of the wealthy. 15 years. 15 years. I've been providing the soundtrack to their lavish lives. My music, the backdrop to their conversations of stocks and summer homes. Bach and Chopin, mere ambiance for their privilege. I graduated Juilliard, drowning in debt. A degree I couldn't afford. A dream slipping through my fingers like arpeggios on ivory keys. That's when I found my calling, or perhaps it found me. From Manhattan penthouses to sprawling Hamptons estates, my music filled their opulent spaces. I became a fixture in their world, a phantom presence observed but never truly seen. I was the piano man, the hired help, paid to play, to blend into the tapestry of their gilded cages, paid to be silent. The routine was always the same: a phone call, an email, a date, a time, a location, sometimes a name, more often just an address. My presence requested, my voice never heard. They would tell me what to play: Chopin, Debussy, Mozart, the classics, the soundtrack to their carefully curated lives. I became a chameleon, blending my music with their desires, my emotions carefully muted. I saw their triumphs, their tragedies, heard their secrets whispered behind champagne flutes and polite laughter, but I said nothing. I was a ghost, a shadow, my existence measured in keystrokes and hushed tones. The money was good, obscenely good, enough to silence the whispers of my own unfulfilled dreams, enough to buy my silence, my complicity, until Thaddeus Wexler. His email arrived like a serpent in Eden, sleek and venomous. Exclusive engagement, substantial compensation, the Ishtar Society, $25,000, for one night, an amount that could buy my silence. But the name sent shivers down my spine. The Ishtar Society, ancient secrets and forgotten rituals, power and darkness. Curiosity lured me in, I replied, trembling. With a click I stepped into a new world, a world of shadows and secrets, a world I may never escape. The next day, a black car arrived, my fate sealed with a whispered address. As the car sped through the city, I knew my life would never be the same. The car sliced through the night, streetlights flickered past, brief glimpses into a world I was leaving behind, a world of melody and illusion, a world I was about to betray. The driver, a man of few words and even fewer expressions, remained silent. His eyes, reflected in the rearview mirror, were cold, calculating. He was a guardian, a gatekeeper to a world I didn't understand. The city lights faded, replaced by a darkness so complete it felt like a living presence. Trees lined the road, their branches reaching out like skeletal fingers, scratching at the car's tinted windows. My hands trembled. I clutched the contract, the weight of $25,000 a heavy burden in my pocket. The paper felt like a living thing, its words burning into my skin. I had agreed to their terms. Confidentiality, discretion, silence. My music, the price of my ignorance, or perhaps the price of my soul. The car slowed, turning onto a gravel driveway. The sound of crunching stone echoed in the silence. We stopped before a gate, wrought iron twisted into menacing shapes, illuminated by a single flickering lantern. The driver spoke for the first time, his voice a low growl. The Ishtar Society. The gates swung open, as if by an unseen hand. We drove through, the car's headlights cutting through the oppressive darkness, revealing a long, winding driveway lined with ancient trees. The mansion loomed ahead, a gothic monstrosity of stone and shadow. Its windows, dark and vacant, stared down at me like the eyes of a predator. I felt a chill run down my spine, a primal fear I couldn't shake. I was a lamb led to slaughter, a pawn in a game I didn't understand. And the music I had always cherished, was now the soundtrack to my own demise. The driver stopped before the imposing entrance. Two figures awaited, cloaked in shadow, their faces obscured by the dim light. One figure stepped forward, a woman, her voice as sharp and cold as broken glass. "Mr. Carlyle, we've been expecting you." Her words echoed in the silence, a promise and a threat. I followed her inside, my footsteps swallowed by the thick carpets, the air heavy with the scent of decay and forgotten things. The mansion's interior was a labyrinth of dark wood and faded grandeur. Portraits lined the walls, their subjects staring down at me with accusing eyes. The air was thick with the weight of history, of secrets whispered and buried beneath layers of wealth and power. I felt a presence behind me, a cold breath on my neck. I didn't turn around. I didn't need to. I knew I was being watched, my every move scrutinized. We reached a pair of massive oak doors. The woman produced a key, the metal cold against my skin. "The ballroom awaits, Mr. Carlyle. Your performance is about to begin." The doors swung open, revealing a ballroom bathed in a sickly yellow light. A grand piano stood on a raised platform, its black lacquer gleaming like a pool of darkness. I walked towards the piano, each step heavier than the last. My fingers brushed against the ivory keys, a familiar chill running up my arms. This was my stage now, my instrument, my prison. And the music I had dedicated my life to, would be my only solace, or my final undoing. I took a deep breath, the air thick with anticipation and dread. The performance was about to begin, and I, the unwitting maestro, was about to conduct a symphony of shadows. The ballroom, vast, opulent, a gilded cage designed for spectacle and sin. Crystal chandeliers cast long, dancing shadows across the polished marble floor. Each flicker of light, a whispered promise of something sinister. Guests began to arrive. Captains of industry, titans of finance, their faces etched with an arrogance born of inherited wealth and untouchable power. They moved with practiced grace, their smiles as brittle as the champagne flutes they held. I sat at the piano, a lone figure amidst the growing crowd. My fingers danced across the keys, summoning forth a cascade of melancholy notes. Chopin, Debussy, the soundtrack to their depravity. Their conversations washed over me, a torrent of greed and ambition, mergers, acquisitions, the casual dismissal of fortunes lost and won. I was invisible to them, a phantom providing the musical backdrop to their soulless revelry. But their eyes betrayed a different truth. A hunger that couldn't be sated by money or power alone. A hunger that whispered of ancient pacts and unspeakable desires. The air grew heavy, thick with anticipation. The chatter subsided, replaced by an unsettling silence. All eyes turned towards the grand entrance as a hush fell over the room. Thaddeus Wexler. He entered with the presence of a predator, his silver hair gleaming under the chandeliers, his eyes as cold and calculating as a serpent's gaze. He moved through the crowd, a king surveying his court. He ascended a raised platform, a single spotlight illuminating his figure. In his hand he held a silver goblet, its contents a viscous liquid the color of blood. "Welcome," his voice boomed, echoing through the silent ballroom. "Tonight we celebrate the ancient traditions. Tonight we renew the bonds that secure our prosperity." His words hung in the air, thick with unspoken menace. I felt a shiver run down my spine, a primal fear gripping my heart. This was no ordinary gathering. This was something far more sinister. Two guards dragged a young woman into the center of the room. Her eyes were wide with terror, her body trembling as she struggled against their grasp. She was dressed in a plain white gown, her youth and innocence a stark contrast to the opulent depravity surrounding her. Wexler approached her, his smile a grotesque parody of empathy. He held out the goblet, offering her a taste of the crimson liquid. "Drink," he commanded, his voice laced with a chilling gentleness. She shook her head, tears streaming down her face. He snapped his fingers, and a guard forced the goblet to her lips. The liquid spilled down her chin, staining her white gown a macabre crimson. I was trapped, my fingers moving mechanically over the keys, Chopin's haunting melody providing a discordant counterpoint to the horror. The guests watched with a mixture of fascination and disgust. Some looked away, unable to stomach the sight. Others, their eyes gleamed with excitement. Wexler raised his hand and the room fell silent. "Her essence will nourish us," he declared. "Her sacrifice ensures our prosperity." He took the goblet, the young woman collapsing in tears. He raised it high, a toast to the Ishtar Society. "To the Ishtar Society," they echoed. They drank, their lips stained crimson. I closed my eyes, unable to bear the sight. The music flowed through me, a torrent of despair. I was no longer an observer, I was a participant in this macabre ritual. I had sold my soul for $25,000, and the price of my silence was the blood of an innocent. The ballroom, now a stage for a grotesque ballet. The guests, their faces illuminated by a strange, ethereal glow emanating from the center of the room, moved with a predatory grace. They circled the young woman, their movements synchronized, their faces masks of morbid fascination. I watched, my fingers moving over the keys, playing a haunting melody that seemed to amplify the horror unfolding before me. Wexler, a conductor orchestrating a symphony of fear, directed the guests with a flick of his wrist, a whispered word. Each movement precise, calculated, rehearsed. The young woman, still trembling on the floor, her eyes wide with terror, seemed to shrink under their gaze. She was a sacrificial lamb, an offering to some ancient malevolent force, and I, the musician, was providing the soundtrack to her demise. The guests formed a circle around the young woman. Their shadows, stretched and distorted by the flickering candlelight, danced upon the walls, creating a grotesque tableau of monstrous figures. A hush fell over the room, as a figure emerged from the shadows. In his hands a silver tray, upon which rested a collection of obsidian knives. The blades, sharp as shards of broken glass, glinted menacingly in the dim light. Wexler took a step forward, his eyes fixed on the young woman. He selected a knife from the tray, testing its sharpness with a delicate thumb. A cruel smile spread across his lips. "Tonight," he announced, his voice echoing through the silent ballroom, "we partake in an ancient ritual, a ritual of sacrifice and renewal." His words hung in the air, heavy with menace, sending a shiver down my spine. I wanted to look away, to block out the horror unfolding before me, but I couldn't. I was bound to this place, to this moment, by the music, by my own morbid curiosity, by my silence. The guests, their faces illuminated by a strange, feverish excitement, pressed closer, eager to witness the ritual firsthand. They were like moths drawn to a flame, their fascination outweighing their revulsion. Wexler knelt before the young woman, the obsidian knife gleaming in his hand. He gently lifted her chin, his touch surprisingly tender, his eyes boring into hers. She flinched but made no sound, her terror rendering her voiceless. He spoke to her in a low voice, his words inaudible over the sound of my own playing. I watched, my fingers trembling on the keys as a tear rolled down her cheek, a single pearl of despair in a sea of madness. He was offering her something, comfort, reassurance, a lie to ease her passage into whatever darkness awaited her. I didn't know. But the look on her face, the look of utter hopelessness, told me everything I needed to know. She was resigned to her fate. The moment stretched, an eternity suspended in time. The air crackled with a palpable energy, a sense of something ancient and powerful awakening. My music seemed to both fuel and be fueled by this unseen force. Wexler, with a swift practiced movement, made a small incision on the young woman's palm. Blood welled up, a dark ruby against the paleness of her skin. He held her hand over the silver goblet, letting the blood drip into the dark liquid within. The guests watched, their breath catching in unison, as if they were witnessing some sacred act, and perhaps they were. But the God they worshipped, the power they craved, was fueled by fear, by sacrifice, by the blood of innocence. The ritual, once completed, was over as quickly as it began. The guests, their faces flushed, their eyes gleaming with a strange new light, dispersed throughout the ballroom. The young woman was escorted away, her blood staining the marble floor. The music continued, a melancholy backdrop to the macabre scene. I played mechanically, my mind numb, my soul stained with the horrors I had witnessed. The guests, their thirst momentarily slaked, resumed their conversations, their laughter now tinged with a manic edge. They spoke of business deals, of political machinations, their words laced with a newfound ruthlessness. I watched them from my shadowed corner, my fingers moving over the keys, a prisoner bound to his instrument, forced to provide the soundtrack to their depravity. I had witnessed something truly evil that night, something that whispered of ancient pacts and unspeakable horrors, something that chilled me to my core. and I knew with a sinking certainty that I would never be the same. The grand clock chimed midnight, its sound echoing through the ballroom, a stark reminder of the time slipping away. The guests, their faces flushed, their eyes gleaming with a dangerous light, began to take their leave. Wexler, his silver hair gleaming under the chandeliers, approached the piano, his gaze piercing through me. He offered a thin smile, his eyes cold and calculating. "A most excellent performance, Mr. Carlyle," he purred, his voice a silken threat. "Your discretion is appreciated." He placed a heavy envelope on the piano, the weight of money a tangible reminder of my complicity. "The society expects your presence at the winter solstice. Do not disappoint us." He turned to leave, his parting words echoing in the silence. "Remember, Mr. Carlyle, what happens at the society stays at the society." I sat there alone in the vast, silent ballroom, the weight of his words pressing down on me, suffocating me. The winter solstice, a date circled in blood, a summons I couldn't refuse. The black car deposited me back in my world, or rather, the world I once knew. Now the city lights seemed to hum with a hidden darkness, the familiar streets whispering secrets I couldn't unhear. My apartment, once a sanctuary, now felt like a prison cell, the silence amplified by the echoes of the night's horrors, the air thick with the phantom scent of blood and fear. I went to the bathroom, clutching the heavy envelope, $25,000. The weight of it felt like a physical burden, a constant reminder of the pact I had made. I stared at my reflection in the mirror, my face usually so composed now seemed gaunt, hollowed out by the night's events. My eyes, once filled with music, now reflected a chilling emptiness. I had sold my soul for a song, and the melody lingered, a haunting refrain that promised only despair. Days turned into weeks. The city noises grated on my nerves, every shadow held a hidden menace. Music tasted like ash in my mouth. The joy was gone, replaced by emptiness. The faces of victims haunted my dreams. Their silent pleas echoed in my ears. I considered going to the police, but what proof did I have? My word against the Ishtar Society? They would crush me, silence me. Would it make a difference? The society's roots ran deep. I was trapped in a web of my own making. My silence was now a heavy chain. The email arrived on the eve of the winter solstice, a digital harbinger of doom, delivered with chilling precision. The Ishtar Society, like a predator toying with its prey, hadn't forgotten me. The subject line: a winter solstice performance. The message, brief and to the point, sent a shiver down my spine. They requested my presence once more. The fee doubled, a reminder of their power, their reach, their absolute control. $50,000. The price of my continued silence, the cost of my soul. This time I didn't hesitate. I knew what I had to do. The black car returned, a sleek, silent predator navigating the city streets with an almost supernatural ease. This time I didn't resist. I climbed into the back, my body moving on autopilot, my mind numb. The city lights blurred past, a kaleidoscope of color and noise that did nothing to penetrate the oppressive silence within the car. I was a passenger on a journey to my own damnation, each passing streetlight a marker on the road to perdition. The winter solstice awaited, a night of ancient rituals and unspeakable horrors, a night that promised to reveal the true depths of the Ishtar Society's depravity, and I, the musician, the witness, the accomplice, would be there to play my part. This time, however, I wouldn't be a passive observer. This time I would be ready.